We just thought if nobody else is out there looking to advocate for disabled people and try and increase the representation, then why don't we do it? We're working with brands such as Burberry, we're working with all the high street brands, Google, Samsung.
And one of the campaigns that really stuck out for me was the Gucci one.
And to this day, it remains the most liked Gucci post ever.
Have you noticed, specific types of disabilities maybe that they're aiming for to represent?
I think...
Are there any specifically that you've actually said no to?
If they're not being inclusive now, then they are going to get left behind.
Hi everyone, welcome to this podcast episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because this will only help the growth of this channel, especially with all of the guests that I'm bringing here. The more you guys subscribe, the more guests that we'll be bringing on this channel. Hi Laura, it's so great to finally be reunited after quite a while.
Yes.
We spoke a few years back, obviously, and now I have been seeing all the amazing work that you've been doing with all of the models and Zebedee. So yeah, it will be great to just kind of take us on that journey and let us hear a little bit more about your background and how you actually started this modelling agency.
Sure. Hi. I'm Laura. I'm one of the co-founders here at Zebedee. We launched Zebedee in 2017. I launched it with my sister-in-law, Zoe, and we launched because we felt there was lack of representation in fashion and media, specifically representation of people with disabilities, visible differences, and the trans and non-binary community. And the story goes, we were just having a walk on the beach one day, chatting about this and the lack of representation, and it was just a light bulb moment. We just thought if nobody else is out there looking to advocate for disabled people and try and increase the representation, then why don't we do it? We had no idea if anybody else was doing it. We had no idea how to do it. Neither of us had worked in an agency before, but we just knew that it was something that had to be done, and we couldn't believe in 2017 that there was still such a lack of representation of such a huge proportion of society. Since then we've got busier and busier. The first few years were quite tough. It continues to be quite hard to encourage people to be inclusive, but over the last couple of years, the last 2 or 3 years, we've just got busier and busier. We're working with over 1,000 jobs a year now, working with around over 1,000 models, working in the UK, Europe, US and Australia, working with some of the biggest brands in the world, just super, super busy. So we're really pleased with how things are going now.
Yeah, that is really fantastic. And one of the campaigns that really stuck out for me was the Gucci one. And I remember when we spoke about this some time ago, you had mentioned it was really the photographer behind this idea of this inclusive shoot for Gucci. Can you tell us a little bit about this whole backstory and about Ellie herself?
So one of our models, Ellie, so she was featured in a Gucci beauty campaign. Ellie is one of our models. She's been with us since I think about 2018, from the early days really. She was selected by a photographer for a Gucci beauty and Vogue collaboration. At that time, you get these editorials through. We had no idea what a success it was going to be, really if it was going to be featured, but it was featured, and it went onto the Gucci Instagram page, and to this day it remains the most liked Gucci post ever on their Instagram. So that's huge, and that's just kind of pushed her career. It's just gone wild. Now she's actually been on the front cover of Vogue. She's working every week. She's a huge success story. She's just bought her own house. She's doing brilliantly. So we're really, really proud. We have so many stories like that. We're working with brands such as Burberry. We're working with all the high street brands. We're doing loads of commercial stuff, like tech stuff with Google, Samsung, auto brands like Mercedes. It's just, no 2 days are the same. We get various different jobs in every single day, and just super, super busy.
Yeah, I've been witnessing all of the campaigns that you've mentioned, and sometimes I'll stumble across one, or I see even your models also just posting about, oh, I've been featured in this campaign and that one, and taking pictures next to like the poster that they've been featured on in the store, I don't know, in Primark or Burberry, whatever, all the brands that you've listed. So yeah, it's really, really refreshing to see that. And I need I say it's really about time that this is happening, because I believe Zebedee has really taken this up a notch, and you have really tackled the fashion industry head on, and we can see that it's quite evident as well. But with all of this success, what would you say have been the challenges through your journey?
Um, I guess, like I mentioned, we never we didn't launch Zebedee with a black book of contacts. We have had to do everything from scratch. We've had to reach out to everybody, make contacts, understand the industry. Yeah, so that's obviously been really, really hard for us to build those contacts over the past sort of 6 years. Um, of course, on top of that, we have the added issue of brands still not wanting to be inclusive, still not taking the step to be inclusive. We know that we're still only receiving a tiny proportion of all the briefs out there. When we launched, only 0.006% of people featured in advertising have a disability. Now that statistic is around 1%. So there's a huge increase, which is obviously really, really excellent. But we know that around 20% of the people of society have a disability. So there's still a huge disconnect between the reality of the population who are disabled and what advertisers choose, who they choose to feature in their campaigns and their advertising. So we've still got a long, long way to go. Practically wise, the clients that we work with, they're definitely a lot better about in terms of taking people's needs into account and their access needs, and making sure that sets are accessible. But we do on occasion still have issues where sets or casting offices or casting studios aren't accessible. So there still are issues out there. People are still worried about getting the language right. People are still worried about being called tokenistic. I guess clients still have these worries, but they really need to start thinking about it now. If they're not being inclusive now, then they are going to get left behind.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, you're touching up on one of the points I wanted to discuss with you today about the discrepancies between you providing these amazing models versus the brands who will then need to accommodate these models with these different abilities. Have you noticed any kind of further discrepancies when it comes to, the shoots themselves? I've heard a lot of stories about some models going to runways, so a model using a wheelchair who has been, you know, selected to be one of the models for a fashion show. But in order to actually just access the building itself, they had to go all the way round to the back of the building, which is obviously then bringing some other issues beyond just the actual campaign that they're there for. So have you witnessed more of these discrepancies? Is this something that's still really occurring quite a lot in your experience?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, it's it's happening less. But, people are better at taking people's needs into account. But of course, we're looking at London, we're looking at Paris. Those spaces, the tubes, they're still not accessible. But it's even hard for people to get around London. If they use a wheelchair, let alone get into the buildings where they're meant to be working. So it is still really, really tough. Actually, kind of linked to that though, lockdown and COVID has kind of helped our talent, because historically everybody had to cast in person. They'd have to get on the tube and go left, right, and centre to get to an actual casting. But casting has moved a little bit, moved up to online, Zoom casting, self tapes, that sort of thing. And that's really helped not only those people with maybe mobility needs, but also those people who might have neurodiversity or other access needs, or need a carer, trying to get them available to be able to get to a casting. A last minute casting can be quite tricky. So being able to offer digital casting has really helped our talent. And I think definitely that's helped us in becoming more busier and our talent becoming more busy.
Have you noticed any trends actually for the ones who are picking this up and willing to be inclusive? Have you noticed, specific types of disabilities maybe that they're aiming for to represent?
I think not necessarily at the moment. I think brands are being more inclusive in terms of type of disability or visible difference. I guess like clients, when sometimes when they're looking to be inclusive, they want to also prove to their customer that they're being inclusive. So in those sort of situations, they're looking for people who have disabilities where it is quite obvious, so somebody with a wheelchair, somebody with a limb difference. So you might see those people with those disabilities kind of being selected for those jobs because the brands are looking to prove that they're being inclusive. But that's less and less so, to be honest, nowadays. Like, we've tried to do lots and lots of education about the diversity of disability, how it's unique to every person. And really, it just needs a little bit of extra work on the clients, on their creative process of the client. Like, how are they going to tell the story with that disabled person? How can they, if they want to be inclusive, how do they want to make that clear to the consumer? But at the same time, just be inclusive you don't need to prove that you're being inclusive. If you're being inclusive, you're being inclusive, and that will shine throughout your company values, and customers will notice that. But we do a lot of education with people about what can they do on set to make sets more inclusive? How can they meet people's needs? Why should they be inclusive? There's so many reasons why. Not only is it the right thing to do, but also it can bring so much to a creative campaign, so much more depth and interest. And also it does make business sense. The spending power of the disabled community in the UK is thought to be around 270 odd billion pounds a year. Worldwide, it's thought to be $1.3 trillion per year. So it's huge numbers for a previously kind of forgotten huge section of society. So I think brands are kind of getting it now. They're understanding now.
And I hope that only does get better, because obviously this is still kind of, like you said, it's a handful of brands, not necessarily everyone. And actually, when brands have shown that, because you've said you've worked with brands, a lot of them that we've seen, but there are also brands that aren't willing to be inclusive. Are there any specifically that you've actually said no to because maybe they aren't showing the values behind their actual products as well? Because obviously some of their products most of the time aren't adaptive or inclusive, so it could be quite difficult for someone who has limited mobility to wear some of their clothing that they need to feature into a campaign. But I understand, obviously, because your modeling agency is focused on, bringing the talent and the faces to these campaigns. But obviously there's this other issue that's happening behind the scenes of what they're actually wearing, where, these garments aren't the most adaptive. They're not the most adaptive or most inclusive products. So have you actually ever had to say no to a campaign or, a project that a brand may have proposed to you because of these types of issues?
I guess what we're trying to do is increase the representation of this community, and we've got plenty of talent who who wear garments that are tricky to get on. Themselves? They don't have the choice. The adaptive fashion isn't out there at the moment, so they're wearing what they can. They're finding the best products that they can that are out there. Of course, we would never ask any of our models to do anything that they were uncomfortable with. They have autonomy. They can let us know if there's any issues on set or anything like that, and we would completely stand by them. Our hands are a little bit tied to know what garments are gonna be there, and I think even clients probably get their samples very, very last minute, so they might even struggle to know what they're going to have on set. But I think everyone knows that they need to just speak to the talent and make sure that they're comfortable with what there is, and make sure that their access needs have been taken care of. We do lots and lots of commercial work where garments aren't really involved, like TV commercial work. And again, everybody's needs are taken into account. So in all honesty, because we don't really, we're not part of the creative process as such. But everybody that we work with, they know, if they come to us, they know they've taken that first step in wanting to be inclusive, and they know that they need to do the best they can as part of the creative process, and also on the shoot they need to do the best they can for that model. So it's pretty rare, to be honest, that we do have any issues nowadays.
Which is definitely a good thing as well. But still, I think, yeah, when it comes to the creative side, I think it would be great at some point for that to be mainstream as well, so that it's really just kind of closing that loop of, we've got the great talent from your side, but we also got the suitable clothing as well
Yeah,
from the other side.
absolutely. And I think that there's so much going on in this space. Like, I do know that there are a few high street brands who are trying to bring adaptive wear as a matter of course into their lines. I know there's like brilliant designers who are doing all they can to get adaptive fashion out there, of easy access to the disabled community. There's loads and loads going on, and also, adaptive fashion doesn't need to be different to. People can bring in adaptive design into any of their design, which can be worn by somebody who doesn't have a disability as well as somebody who has a disability. So designers can get creative with what they're doing, and it just takes a little bit of knowledge and drive to do that, to make big strides really in this space.
Yeah, most definitely. I was actually speaking about this on another podcast episode, that really it is about the education as well, that it's not that difficult. It obviously just depends which extent you want to take it, but it's not that difficult to look at what you already are selling and then be able to make that inclusive, whether you're just popping on some more buttons here to make it more, accessible, but still stylish, because the buttons don't have to be plain. But yeah, there's just so many options out there that brands just really need to tap into. But thank God for those that that do exist so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, so you've spoken obviously about the challenges, but you have also spoken about the highlights. But is there anyone that you would like to pinpoint specifically in this whole journey with Zebedee?
Um, oh God, that's a hard question. I mean, we're day in, day out, we're so proud of all of our talent. They just do an amazing job, and obviously we wouldn't be where we are without them. There's so many of them that are so committed. Of course, we talked about Ellie, who's just absolutely smashing it. We have Just Roop again, who is booked day in, day out. We've got ones to watch at the moment. We have Georgia Stannard, who's just walked London Fashion Week for a couple of designers, again getting booked very regularly, and I think she's definitely going to be one to watch. We represent from tiny babies to older adults, and we hope to be able to nurture like the little babies that we've got now. Hope to be with them their whole career, and just see like where that takes them when they do, when they grow up. We have like some really busy guys doing commercial work, like Brinston. Some older, I'd hate to say the word, like people who are a little bit older, like Sean, who's doing really well, just done a brilliant TV commercial. There's just so many. I just honestly wouldn't know where to start. We do our own editorials in-house, and they're getting featured in various publications, which we're really proud of. We've got some beautiful imagery coming out. There's just loads. And I always need to research this better, because like I don't normally have chance to take a step back and go, oh look, we booked this and this. I just see that we're so busy day in, day out, and there's like so much going on every day. And I'm just really proud of how hard our team works here in the office, and how our models are doing as well.
Oh no, but that's definitely a good sign as well, that, things are going great. So if you can't pinpoint one thing, that's also a great sign. And I have seen that you are going to be on Channel 4 as well soon.
Yeah, new news. Yeah, so we do have a documentary team that have been following us, bookers in the office, and following a bunch of our excellent models. just, following them in their lives and what they do in their job. And so that's really, really, really exciting. And that's due to be released in February. Working title is New Model Agency, and that's with Channel 4. So that's very exciting and petrifying at the same time.
Well, I can imagine. But I mean, it's already recorded, so you don't need to be petrified anymore.
Well, till I see it.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling. For all the listeners, make sure to watch out for Channel 4, the show, the documentary that Zebedee Management will be in. I'll put any details in the descriptions in the podcast, but do check that out for next year. I know I'll definitely be tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, well, so obviously that's something there, but is there anything else that we should look forward to for the future of Zebedee?
Well, I don't know. The world is our oyster. I mean, hopefully onwards and upwards. Hopefully we're going to be getting more of our talent walking at the shows, fashion weeks throughout the world. Hopefully we've got some, maybe we've got some more designer brands coming up, campaigns. But to be honest, like anytime you switch the TV on or see an advertisement, if you see somebody with a disability or visible difference, 9 times out of 10, they will be our talent. And we're just really proud of that. Like, I love it when I rarely watch TV, but when I do, and I just know that when I see the commercials come on, I know that I'm going to see some of our lovely faces. It's just a really great feeling.
That is really great, yeah. And I have seen some familiar faces as well. I know Gemma, I used to study with her as well, so it's really nice.
She's absolutely smashing it as well at the moment. She's on the tube. She's on the so I was in London the other day, and she's on all the advertisements as you're going down
the tube.
Yeah, down into the tube.
Yeah, I've seen that. Well, I didn't see it firsthand. I just saw her posting about it. But yeah.
I saw it firsthand, so that was exciting. I love it. I love seeing our guys on the billboards.
No, that's really great. So for those who would like to stay in contact with you, let us know how they can.
Sure, if they just go to our website, zebedeetalent.com, or they can follow us on Instagram, just search for Zebedee Talent. If anybody's on LinkedIn, we're Zebedee, or you can follow me, Laura Winson. And if anybody has any briefs that they want us to work on, they can just email us directly, info@zebedeetalent.com.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking with you, Laura, after all this time.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for what the future of Zebedee has in store. So I look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, thank you so much. Lovely to chat. Thank you.
Bye.